We're installing one of the best upgrades you can do for the Evo motor that includes the Sportster and the big twin. All right, so we are working on the electrical side of it, getting into how we're gonna map this whole flat tracker out. I got most of the mechanical figured out at this point, some odds and ends, and now we're diving into getting this timing, ignition, all that put together, because we are not using the factory wiring. That was all since been long gone. When I was searching for an oil tank for this, I could not find an aftermarket one that I liked. There was only like one particular one that was kind of like a cylinder that it looked like it was more of like a chopper. I didn't really like that. And the one that I went with looks great, but it also removes everything in its path. All the wiring, all the fuses, all the relays, all the ignition control modules, anything that is in its way is gone, and the only way it can fit back there. Now that becomes lateral effect, and all the wiring going up is now have to be removed or reconfigured, and trying to figure out where everything's gonna go becomes a little bit of a trick. Mechanical wise, it's one thing, you got more space, but now I gotta figure out where to put wires and how we're going to wire things. And using this Dyna ignition control module 2000i is going to be able to take care of all that right here in the nose cone. So essentially, it is replacing this ignition control module and this ignition sensor. Pretty much merges them together. Now, they do make ones that just replace the ignition control module, and you can have them preset with some of the settings that you can have for your tune, but this one will allow us to be able to choose from it. We just gotta figure out how we are going to wire this and get it through and figure out which way I want to map this out, because I may remove the coil to a different spot or keep it the same, but I want to get this set up so we can essentially rough this wiring in and at least get an idea to where it's going to sit for the coil, okay? So this, once again, is the ignition control sensor and everything now put together. Keep putting that upside down. There we go. That's right side up. All right, so we have all of our main wiring. We'll go over that when we get into the plugs and all that, but what we're gonna do is just get this piped through the cam cover and get that rolling. So mechanically wise, this goes in the same way your ignition sensor would go as well. Just gonna get this wiped down, cleaned up. Okay, and we're going to get our cup, pretty simple, keep it straight. We got a notch here, there's a notch right there. That's where it's gonna go. Makes it pretty easy to mess up, but I'm sure maybe we'll find some way to do it. Here. Placed in, and we'll get our screw going here. This does have a torque spec. It goes from 75 to 80 inch-pounds. There we go. Now we can install our wire here. Fish through the hole. It's just gonna come out right on the other end here, like so. Just a little stuck. So it can pretty much only go in one way. The way that the wire feeds it makes it pretty simple. And then we have two holes, top and bottom. Those are going to be our adjusters there for the timing. Making sure that we have enough movement is gonna be the biggest key here, without pinching anything. That looks good, I like it. Okay, so we will place these in here for now. And our bottom one here. Mechanically wise, that's pretty much set other than just putting the cover on there, but this is where we would actually time the unit if it was on and move around our distributor like that, or ignition sensor here, whatever you want to call it, and adjust it. But we'll get into that when the bike actually runs. Now we need to wire the wires on this to make it work in sync with the bike itself, okay? Trying to hide this wire has been an ongoing debate on trying to figure out where to put it, and you can put it anywhere. There's so much wire they give you, which is awesome. Don't need to solder like 10 feet additional to what you already have here. You get a great starting point. So, and this nice heat shield to make sure you're protected any which way you go. We could run it down here, going with the return that just goes across and then go up and get to this. And essentially our coil is either gonna be here or over here. So we need to get our way up. And normally we'd have a plug, but the plugs be all hidden. So long story, we're gonna try and run this up through the pocket hole of the cam cover here, keeping it tight, and then either run it against this wire or go underneath the starter if possible. So we'll try that first. Make sure that, I know we got the space. Yep, and if you run it that way, are we going to be able to keep it where it doesn't also slide around, move? I think we should be fine. Tie it up against the frame like that. And then of course the tank will cover up here. Ideally, we would drill a hole for all of our main wires, cables and everything to go through here and then exit somewhere where we can exit out maybe on the other side. And then run it back, something like that. But there's only so much you can do with so much wire to hide it with only a couple of frames of tubing to work with without it being seen. So we will deal with that for right now. That works. So this is the next dilemma, trying to figure out where to mount the ignition coil. And there's a bunch of caveats if you try to move it, just like anything else that happens when you move something or upgrade it to a different completely design from what was factory. So we have our single ignition coil fire, single ignition fire. All right, so there's dual and single. Stock would be dual. Single is the aftermarket option to fire better. So this is going to fire one cylinder. It's going to act like a coil per cylinder firing rather than having one coil firing for both the cylinders. Now, in order to get this, we need to figure out, like I said, stock here or here. I like to go here to keep this open and look a little bit more clean. So I went ahead and I have a relocation bracket. So what we're gonna do is at least get this mounted in this area to see if we like the whole look of the coil, and then things can start to be a little more permanent. Installing the bracket first, just to get an idea here where we are going to land, and hopefully it looks good. It should, you know, from the outside in. When it comes to the finer details, and I know one of them that's going to probably catch up on us here very shortly. That looks nice. We just gotta get our coil on here now to look a little more permanent. Okay, so set it up here. Out the gas tank, hard to tell for sure, but looks good. Could be a tad bit thinner though, would be nice. Wiring on this is fairly simple. You got 5 wires to worry about. We got a pink wire, which is your rear cylinder, and then you got your blue wire, which is for your front cylinder, and this is gonna be your power right there off the coil. And then you have a tack wire, and then we have a violet wire. This wire is meant for the Voss system, which we have here. This is where I'm still deciding, because if we go here, I'm going to have to get a bracket, or we'll make a bracket out of this one here. You can get shorter ones and longer ones of this bracket if you didn't know these, if you're still trying to run your Voss system, which is very important. You could run them any which way, but currently the old one runs right through the middle. So we would have a bolt here, and then it would sit like this. The other part of running the coil in the middle for the relocation is that we have a gas line somewhere to go. So when the gas tank plops on here, we have a line that I gotta just somehow finagle, or I will just drill a hole right in the middle of this bracket where you can't see it, and the line will go right down there and then feed it right to the carburetor. So a couple different choices I'm trying to figure out before I make this thing permanent, because once this is essentially permanent, this becomes more of a pain, especially if we do a plug. Once the plug's in, certain holes I go through cannot fit back without essentially chopping off and then resoldering and going through the whole deal to get that fixed. So trying to figure out which way to go. I like it. I don't know if I want to go that wide. Is it really that big of a difference, or just get it slimmed down? Then once again, we're into the tank trying to figure out what looks best. It just becomes a lateral fork. So it's kind of like part 1 of doing this ignition coil / wiring. This is the biggest plumbing rough job that we're trying to get into, so we can get this to start up and run. All right. But for now, guys, that's all I've seen in this one. I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button, tap that like, press the notifications, leave a comment below and tell me what you think. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you as always. Stay free. Catch you guys later. Peace.